My bad. My bad. My bad. I thought you. My bad. Shit. Like,
Easy.
my bad. My bad. I should have told you. Like, hey, y'all.
Y'all was troubleshooting and problem solving and couldn't find the button last time I checked.
Then I found
But
the
hold
button.
on,
It
I'm
was
trying
like,
to. Okay, yeah, because and then he didn't click this so quick. I'm trying to
my
make sure I
bad.
didn't turned on the right setting or what it was, but we in here though.
Yeah. What's
We
good
in here
evening?
though.
Hello.
Seen it works. It was like,
Yeah.
my bad, y'all. That was my anxious
Apartment,
like
right?
just started.
Couldn't get drop my little leadership. I
We
like
ain't
it.
got our producer for the we ain't got our producer for the evening. He double booked on us.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
good. Y'all just seeing this in the raw, in the real.
yeah,
Hello.
yeah,
What
yeah,
happened a couple
yeah, yeah.
seconds ago?
All this glory.
Yeah. What up? What
Y'all
up?
say
What up?
what's up as y'all come on in. It's
Hello.
another
Good
Thursday.
evening.
It's the chop up.
Yeah, we definitely on CP time, but we're here for you. Here with you.
Yeah.
Audio sound.
What's good, fam? You sound a little faint. I'm not gonna hold you now that you mentioned it. What's good, y'all in the chat? Melodious, what's up?
Hey,
Free DNA, what's good with you? What's going on? Y'all
Yeah.
keep tapping in with us. Y'all see we a little bit behind, almost to the tune of 1 hour, but that's because we've been untangling some things. We've been connecting, we've been dissecting, we've been doing the necessary work to make sure we can have a decent conversation for tonight.
For sure.
As Lee would say, it's chopped up, never slopped up. He would add a couple other things that I'm not gonna add, but that's what it is, always and forever. If y'all missed that week, we go back to last week because it was 2 episodes last week. This week we keeping it cool. We keeping it real cute, real player, just with this Thursday night little ditty that we always do. But it's always gonna be at least two of the three of us here locked in, ready to rock and roll. My name is Toya G. I'm here, happy to be with y'all. I'm not by myself though. Who else we got with us tonight?
Damo, the political plug. Y'all know what's up.
Yeah.
yeah, George Lee, aka Conscious Lee. Don't forget the Lee, baby.
Looking at it.
Can't forget the Lee. Okay. I want to do a 2 minute drill. Each of us need to hurry up and pick a topic. First thing that come to your mind, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to get into it, no more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And I'm gonna just kind of get into, something of substance that allows for us to rock out. My 2 minute drill starts now. So America's Next Top Model, 3 episodes on Netflix. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it, and sometimes when I don't get a chance to watch stuff with or before everybody else, I'm annoyed by all the tweets, all the feedback, all the kind of conversations about it. But it's only making me want to watch it more because what in the world? When you look back at that time in history, shout out to like people like Eva Marcel, shout out to Takara representing for the big girls, even though she wasn't even necessarily all
I
that.
remember that being wild. Yeah.
She was
Remember that
like,
thing? Crazy.
she was like pre Megan Thee Stallion shaped, and you know what I'm saying? It was like so plus size. But respect to all of them and their journey, and then all of the other people who didn't win in cycles. And what's crazy is, of course, when we look back at those shows, like people who shaved their hair and changed their body and did all types of crazy things in order just to compete, just to go home, and their bodies never really be the same, or at least in the same way that they thought they would model. All of this to say, I'm excited to watch it. I think it's one of the clips that I saw, not even from the show, but maybe it was from the show, but Miss J, who had a stroke and, made a whole video about, who's been reaching out, who's been staying connected, the fact that Tyra ain't reached out yet, and like how wild that is, just really hearing and seeing how Tyra Banks actually apparently is acting. A lot of people saying her behavior is very peculiar on this particular documentary, very unsavory, even that she's acting like this is more like a reality show and not like a documentary. She's smiling awkwardly at times. She don't have good explanations for some of her behavior and carrying on. And then last thing I'll say in my last 19 seconds is that there are also, people I've been seeing online saying, y'all always try to over critically think about stuff that was popular in the 1990s and the 2000s. Like, y'all can't take these same critical lenses and apply them to shows like that. That was good quality television. She gave a lot of people a shot. We spend time trying to use a 2026 lens on a 2000 product, and that's bad for, what nostalgia is supposed to do. So it does pose an interesting question as I close. How do we look back on legacy? And we're actually kind of having a bigger question about that later. But, with these refined eyes, with these new perspectives, with bigger, deeper understandings about the world, is it helpful to go back and watch old stuff and go pick it apart and critique it for what it should have been instead of for what it was? My time is up. I have 2 minutes on the clock. You get an extra 30 seconds just to, round it out. Who's going next?
All right, I go next.
2-minute warning. 2-minute drill starting now.
All right, 2 minutes on the clock. So, if you're not paying attention to what's happening in places like Iran and Cuba currently, get your shit together because the world is in a fucked up place as it stands currently. So, the situation with Iran is that Donald Trump is pretty much threatening their ass. They're currently attempting to negotiate a nuclear deal, and Iran's not really fucking with what they own. And Donald Trump just kind of gave them an ultimatum, 10 to 15 days to help reach a nuclear agreement, or it's gonna be bad for them. If you don't know about what's happening in Iran, they shit is currently collapsing because their economy is in the shitter right now. Much smarter people than me probably explain the economic situation much better than I can, but it's in dire straits. And you have situations where you have protesters that are fighting the government currently. So Iran really in a messed up position attempting to negotiate shit right now, specifically given their internal circumstance. And you have Cuba pretty much collapsing, like completely falling apart. The power grid then fell apart. They don't have energy there. It's only a matter of time before you start dealing with a humanitarian crisis in Cuba. And so with all the stuff that's going on with Donald Trump here, all the conversations of racism and other shit that we experience and that we deal with, we also have to remember to understand what's happening globally. And when you have the United States playing key roles in undermining the economies and the infrastructure of other governments through shit like tariffs, as well as we know what they call it, where they not letting shit get in. They're not allowing them to get resources. And so given those circumstances, it's important to recognize where we stand in the world, because as much as we talking about what's happening in Israel and Gaza, we're looking at war at our front steps dealing with Iran. So
2 minutes on the dot. I have 2 minutes on the clock for you consciously whenever you're ready. Rock out.
Yes. So right now, the media is in a frenzy because Barack Obama confirmed that aliens are real. I know that the world has been in so much turmoil. We've been dealing with so much stress and so much suffering that we don't give a damn about the extraterrestrial beings at all. But I like to highlight that the world had already confirmed to us that aliens are real. And I just have a few things to kind of package and think about. The first is that I think, or ask the question, what does it mean for the governments to now finally tell us that aliens are real? I think that they've given up on trying to exploit the relationship or exploit the existence of aliens. So now they can just come out and tell us that they're real. But also think about how fucked up the world is right now, that we now have confirmation that aliens are real and nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. I think that fascism and imperialism and, all of the violence and capitalism makes it where we are bogged down and not being able to, we're so broke, can't pay attention. Paying attention in this instance, I believe the aliens, there's much more conversation that we should be having. And listen, in my last seconds, I'm gonna spin this. The aliens, I don't know if y'all can. Aliens, I don't know if y'all can hear us. I don't know if y'all are paying attention. I know that there have been different types of experiences people talk about that y'all were trying to telepathically communicate to them and tell us about the way that we use the earth in terms of resources, in terms of environment. And if y'all listening, can y'all come save us from some other shit? And like, what do y'all think of the race relations in terms of the entire world? And just like what y'all doing? Like, what y'all waiting on? Are y'all collecting data like Palantir? Like, at this point, we know y'all are real. We know y'all in the world. The question to me is like, what now what? And I think that, I got to do more research to figure out what that now what looks like. But the extraterrestrial beings, if you're listening to us beings on the world, we want you to come free us from our leaders because they are doing a bunch of ungodly things. You know what, aliens? I don't know if y'all believe. I don't know what y'all belief system is. You see what I'm saying? But what I do know is that the ethics and morals is there because y'all try to warn us about the ecological, segregation. Aliens, if y'all can hear us, help us out.
Yeah.
I dare to believe they looking down there like no signs of intelligent life. I'm not even gonna bother them. We have no use to them. We tear up our own planet.
The words I was looking for was embargo and sanction.
Yes.
Embargo and sanction. Yeah.
Yeah. They were coming and they were. We even got the comments helping kind of piece it together. Like
shout out to Alex in the comments.
But they don't want us. I don't think they want us. Today we are talking about the complicated but noble and legacied but convoluted backgrounds and past of some of our favorite leaders. You know, it's Black History Month, and so we'll always recognize and identify like the game changers, particularly Jesse Jackson, who passed away this week. We're definitely sorrowful about that loss in a lot of unique ways, but it has drudged up a lot of interesting conversations. Everything from, you know, looking around to see whether or not Barack Obama was going to drop a statement because he and Jesse Jackson have, you know, very interesting past in terms of, you know, Jesse seeing his pathway to the presidency as one that was a good thing or a favorable thing for Black people, for the country, et cetera, et cetera. We also have a lot of, you know, interesting takes on, you know, what Jesse Jackson has done for people understanding their Black image. I'm not gonna hold you. I grew up and my mama used to, like, when I was getting ready, you know, putting lotion on, little Black child, Kansas City, Missouri, you got to walk out shining, you know, a little Vaseline here, a little whatever there, you go put your clothes on right, you know, your mama tug them on you. She used to, you know, make me repeat after her, I love myself, I'm beautiful, this, that, and the other. And she would always be like, I am somebody, like, and I would have to say, I am somebody, say, I am somebody, I am somebody, like, I'm putting, you know what I'm saying, whatever, and never really made the connection that was so deeply connected to the message, you know, that Jesse Jackson was so, you know, full-throatedly, flat-footedly projecting and proclaiming for Black people to understand and to scream about themselves. And also he was in rooms with, you know, mixed, you know, groups of people, just allowing people to remind themselves of their personhood, the fact that they are, you know, important and valuable and meaningful, you know, to other people into this world. And so interesting contours, levels, layers to, you know, people like him and so many other Black leaders that we are finding ourselves saying the names of, remembering, but then you always got somebody like, but don't forget, or but what about, or but did you know? And so it creates an always perpetually interesting place to be in. Shout out to Alex and Latasha and Darkside and everybody else in the chat. If y'all know y'all got good manners, come on here and talk to us. It's Black History Month. Don't do us like that. But
yeah, where y'all at on Twitter, man? Where y'all at on Twitter, man?
Tap in with us. But you know, we want to get into specifically. Let's start with Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
For those, especially generationally, like we're kind of moving away from the apex of really knowing a lot about him. We've grown up and we would hear Jesse Jackson in jest. We would hear him connected to certain Black movements. We would hear people make jokes about his the way he talked and his like tendency to rhyme certain things, or maybe how he would, you know, create certain slogans, or like that was what I remembered a lot of in my childhood. So he was like less of an apex iconic. He was always an iconic figure, but less central. And as we've gotten older, I'm sure
definitely not mainline. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, have been moved even further away from that institutional memory about who Jesse Jackson was. Shout out to Daniel. What's good with you? Shout out. Thank you for coming in. Lee, I'm gonna turn it over to you. I know you got some words. I know you got some vids. Let's go ahead and just kind of situate Jesse Jackson, the legacy, the past, the controversy. Lay it on us.
Yes. A lot of people have had a bunch of colorful language to talk about Jesse Jackson. We even seen somebody in the comment section, because our title of this episode is Jesse Jackson, the Complicated Black History Makers. And somebody said that Jesse Jackson is a house Negro. I know that a lot of people are highlighting different things when it comes to the late Jesse Jackson and how you believe he was able to contribute to black plight or black experience, or how you feel like he was able to take away from it. I think that this episode and this conversation is very intentionally problematic in ways of thinking about how the people that we talk about in history, they always have some human connection that's tied to what people will view as being problems. And I think that Jesse Jackson gives us a good entryway to think about other figures, you know what I'm saying? But before we get to other figures, I think that's important to really get into more details of this checkered past that people have when it comes to Jesse Jackson. It's important that I give you just a little bit of background, because I think that as somebody with a internet following, and somebody that people also hate in many different instances, a lot of folks don't know the story or know where you come from, and they only think about fuck that guy for this reason. So Jesse Jackson is from South Carolina, and he was the protege to Martin Luther King Jr. and James Bevel. Regardless,
it's debatable, but you know what I'm saying.
Debatable as in we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. But when I say protege, I think that it's important to think about what type of stature he had that make it where a man like Martin Luther King wanted him to be in proximity to him, and it's direct circle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we know that Martin Luther King was a man of discernment. We're gonna get into his past as well, you know what I'm saying, later on. But we know that this is a man of reverence that decided that Jesse Jackson contributed something the way he needed to be present. You know what I mean? Before I get into some of the good things that I think that I didn't know about him until he passed, My boy T Nathan made a video that I think that it is very appropriate.
Appropriate.
I literally thought you glitched, but you were just finding the appropriate, no pun intended word.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
Appropriate. This is a video from T Nathan. Shout out to the homie T Nathan. This video.
Like Jesse Jackson. I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I have tried to make this video in many ways, and I thought I should just put that out there up front. This morning, it has been announced that Jesse Jackson has passed at 84 years old. Now, this is a picture on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel the day before the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was shot. This man over here on the far left is Hosea Williams. That's Jesse Jackson right next to King. And behind him is the Reverend Ralph Abernathy. Now, many of you all may remember this iconic photograph from the Lorraine Motel on April 4th, 1968, when the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King had been shot. Now, let's go through some of the people at this scene and where they're located. It comes in relevant later. Up top here, the first man you can see clearly is Andrew Young, and he would go on to become mayor of Atlanta. And over here on this side, the first person you can make out is actually a young lady named Mary Louise Hunt, and she was 18 at the time. Standing next to her is the Reverend Ralph Abernathy, and cradling Dr. King's head, that's not Jesse Jackson. That is Morrell McCullen. And come to find out later, he was an undercover police officer.
Yeah.
Standing way over here out of sight that you can just see an arm, that is where Jesse Jackson was standing. Now, Hosea Williams, who was in the first photograph the day before, was an aide to Dr. King. And he was downstairs right under the balcony getting the car ready for a trip that they were about to take to eat dinner. And he ran up the stairs as soon as he heard the shot. Now, I'm going to stop talking now and let Hosea Williams tell the rest of the story. And this is a story my grandmother told me a long time ago.
We were in the meeting, and someone said, Reverend Billy Kyles is outside, and he's upset. And Dr. King said, oh, my God, I forgot to tell you, I promised his wife, who's supposed to be a great soul food cooker, we'd have our feet on her table at 5:30. Now it's 5:45, and we sit in the meeting. Dr. King said, everybody rush. And get ready in a hurry. Let's go. So I ran down and got to my room. My key wouldn't open my door for some strange reason. The limousine that had been loaned to us, I opened my door. I could touch the limousine. And finally, I heard the driver tell Dr. King, Dr. King, I advise you get your top coat, because even though I have the car on, it's still chilly. And the last words he said in this world, okay, Jonesy, I'll get my top coat. And I heard this thing say, pow! And I honestly thought someone had thrown a firecracker into the air. And I looked around to rebuke whoever was that stupid. And I heard something, bloop, fell up above my head. And I looked up, and his leg was sticking through the rail. Dr. King only wore one type of sock and one type of shoe. And I knew that was him. I said, oh, my God, they got it. And then I had to run about 50 feet down and back up, and I got to him. And Ralph was holding his head, and Andy was there. And a guy from Africa who had been traveling with us as a newsman from Africa. We found out later on he was working for the CIA. No, the FBI, working for the FBI. And he had taken a lot of pictures of Dr. King. And I grabbed him in the throat and started choking him, because the bullet hit Dr. King right here. And it went round and cut his medulla oblongata. And I didn't want people to remember Dr. King with half his face shut off. So Andy ran and got a towel. And somehow or another they took one more picture after I made him into that camera. And it shows Dr. King down with a towel on his face. But I'm going to tell you, I was an expert gunner in World War II. When I ran up on that balcony and I looked from whence that bullet had to come, the distance of that bullet, and just could feel the wind blowing that day, I said, whomever shot that rifle was one of the best in the world. He shot one bullet. And I believe that Dr. King hadn't moved to go back and get his top coat, the bullet would have hit him between the eyes. The bullet hit him right here. But what happened, and then Ralph said, we'll go in and take him on to the hospital. Jose, you get all the staff together. 3 of us saw it, Dr. King, after he was shot. 3 SLC executive staff members. Andy, Abernathy, and Jose Williams. Those are the 3 that saw that body. Now listen to that. So I got in the yard and I was about to lose my cool because I was thinking if I could take some molecules out there and make me some guns and kill me some white folks. And one man said, now be cool. You're doing the same thing you promised me you'd never do. And I started crying. And then I heard Jesse Jackson say, he told me, Jesse, take our people onto the mountaintop. And that didn't bother me, even though I know Jesse got nowhere near him. And then Jesse said, I held his head in my hand while he died. And that didn't get to me. And then Jesse said, look at my shirt. And I looked around, sure enough, and Jesse Jackson's shirt was drenched in blood. And I realized the only way Jesse could have gotten that blood was stoop down on that floor at the Lorraine Motel and rake that blood off that floor and put that blood on him. And I went crazy. I really tried to kill Jesse. They grabbed us and all that, but that hurt me so bad. The other thing was, when Abernathy came back, says, no need of prayer, no need of crying, no need of nothing. He is going, it's over. He's going to glory. And we called the meeting, the staff meeting, and Jesse claimed to have been ill. And Abernathy told him, Jesse, go ahead to the room and relax. Jesse had to have run like hell that room into that airport because he got out of Memphis to Chicago. All us feeling, everybody was still in the motel, cut the televisions on the next morning. That was Jesse Jackson in Chicago with that same bloody shirt on, telling that same lie. I've never respected Jesse since that moment. When
I talk about a checkered past and I talk about it from a millennial standpoint, I'm thinking of all of the various things I've been told about Jesse Jackson, specifically when it comes to him being a con artist or being corrupt or being bought out or being a house. So it's like the fact now that I'm older and I've been able to now really grapple with the full being of a person. It's like, can I negate that he's done things? It's like, nah, nigga, I wouldn't have did that. Hell no, I can't negate that. But can I also think about all the things that he's contributed? Here's something I didn't know until he passed away. I did not know that this man has such I did not know that he has such a past with hostages. I'm going to give you a few instances. In 1984 in Syria, Jesse secured a release of Lieutenant Robert Goodman, who was captured after a plane was shot down in Syria. In 1984, same year, Cuba, he negotiated the release of 48 Cuban and American prisoners. In Kuwait/Iraq, in 1990, following the invasion of Kuwait, Jackson met with Saddam Hussein to secure the release of hundreds of foreigners being held as human shields. In 1999, in Yugoslavia, during the how you say it, Toya? Kosovo.
Kosovo.
I ain't never heard of Kosovo. Shout out to Kosovo. I don't want to start, you know.
That was under the Clinton.
Yeah, but hey, he negotiated the release of 3 U.S. soldiers. And not only that, when I was getting my degree in African American studies, I learned what he did specifically when it came to voter registration for Black folks in America and how his positioning within the Democratic Party is what allowed for a lot of Black people to now view it the way we view it now. So
I mean, he ran for president twice, right?
Ran for president twice.
Yeah,
I
mean, his legit shot was in 1984. That's when he felt like, it was a shot. Yeah, I mean, because like that's our generation. That's when we knew about him. We know about him from Jesse. He ran for president. That's really the only Black. Because we knew more about Jesse Jackson than we did about Shirley Chisholm.
Yeah, for sure.
Didn't know shit about Shirley Chisholm. Nigga, but Jesse Jackson ran for president though. You know what I mean? So
So in this history, I want to ask the question when it comes to Jesse Jackson before we get to the other people. How do y'all think Jesse Jackson should be remembered? Should it be more of the ways that we feel like he sold out black folks? Should it be more of a balance of us viewing everything he's done, good, bad, and ugly? Or, should it just be look at it like his family members looking at it and just maybe viewing the great things he's done? I think Jesse Jackson, to me, is a great personification of how people can have a complex history and how, depending on who you're talking to, is Jesse Jackson was a great man that did some great things. That he was a hell, but Donald Trump said he was hell. Donald Trump what Donald Trump said about him? He was a hell of a.
He said something.
Yeah, I don't really pay too much attention to what Donald Trump be saying, bro. So
What y'all think though in terms of Jesse Jackson? How should he be remembered on this on this 100th anniversary of Black History Month in the wake of him just dying? How do the chop up view how he should be understood?
Go ahead, Toy.
I think the question you asked that question to me, and I'm like, I guess it's both a collective question and a question I have to answer for myself. And it's like, what's the line? Right? Like, before I can answer how we should understand or appreciate his legacy, it is the constant negotiation that I feel like I'm in. It's like, what's my line? What's too far for me? Or like, what should be too far for us? So when you think about, and Latasha is like all of the above, like, I think it's important to be nuanced and not to create it either or. It kind of has to be a both and, because like, but in the regards to like the question that I asked myself, like, what's the line? It's like, I really don't bang with what I just heard. Like, I really, like, in terms of my personal politics, like, I just don't really, I don't rock with like how he's saying that played out and with the implications of that. And you went all the way to Chicago with the shirt on, like performative, like grandstanding, like you cloud chasing, and that is the worst because of how delicate the situation was. I think the timing was unsavory. I think the fact that he disappeared in the middle of the night in the darkness, and you know what I'm saying? There's so many things about that give me the ick that it's just like, I don't know if I could bang with none of the rest of the stuff the way I want to, because that is just so weird to me. But I recognize the flexibility I have with other people in other cases and other situations where I'm like, but still, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to walk that fine line. Krista says we need to be honest about the complexities of people in history as a whole. And I think that's what, era of understanding. Can y'all hit that ringer for me? I love you so much. The dings are driving me crazy. Who's ringing?
That was Lee. That wasn't me.
Help me.
I got it out. I got it cut out.
I think we got to call a spade a spade. And, when we say like the good things that were done, right? Like the hostage releases, right? That exemplifies, or even just the getting out the vote type shit, right? It exemplifies, his, how much he was respected, appreciated just by the government. I mean, the fact that Donald Trump got good shit to say about him, while at the same time they were moving every Black history memorial, you know what I'm saying, Black icon being taken down, but Donald Trump could get up and say something good about Jesse Jackson. And so while we look at it from a standpoint of, his institutional and his mainstream and progressive success, at the same time, a part of the problem that we deal with today when we talk about leadership is because of niggas like Jesse Jackson. And I mean, as somebody who talks about the importance of voting and all of that type of shit and recognize what Jesse was able to do in 1984, he lived a long life. It's not happening, nigga. Y'all know what's up. But he lived a long life, and we had. And I was arguing with an old head on YouTube the other day because I hate hearing like Gen Xers and other niggas talk about we're the leaders. You know what I'm saying? The newer generation, they do what they worried about and what they care about. They ain't focused on leadership, and they ain't focused on this and they ain't focused on that. And it's like, hearing that from y'all, it's like you was the example. So if there was a lesson to be learned, what was it? And when we look at people like who lived a long, like Dr. King didn't live a long life, Malcolm didn't live a long life. if we look at Jesse Jackson as our quote unquote black political leader, a lot of times that Democratic plantation bullshit, my nigga was an overseer. Like, let's if we being for real. And so as much as, you know, we can appreciate what he represented, I am somebody and all those other things, when you look at like the performative nature of his response to Dr. King getting killed, as we just heard, when we look at how he shaped how black people understood politics, not even just from the standpoint of going out to vote, but what our relationship should be with it. When we look at how he exemplified respectability politics in a lot of ways, and a lot of the shit that we got to push back against today was established by how what they thought blackness, like him, his generation, what his leadership was like.
African-Americanness.
You said what?
African-Americanness. He wasn't with all that black.
Right, like the move away from black, right?
Yeah.
The move away from black to African-American, that type of shit. Like, for me, being an adult now, I don't look at Jesse Jackson as like he was a pioneer for black politics and shit like that. By the time I was old enough to be politically aware, he was already like you said, ancillary, or even to a degree, a caricature. And the last thing I'll say before I pass it is the reason why, even as we got older, Jesse Jackson became less relevant is because his son fucked up his name. Let's not forget Jesse Jackson Jr. attempted to buy a Barack Obama Senate seat from Rod Blagojevich, the governor of Illinois at the time. Blagojevich went to jail for it, and I forget exactly what happened. Because the nigga got caught on tape. Like, they caught that nigga red-handed, attempting to buy Barack Obama's Senate seat. So yeah, like that. Jesse Jackson lived a long life. King didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? King didn't. And when we got all this extra time that we looking at, and we think about his impact, and we're adults now. Niggas got families, niggas got careers, we have political voice, all of that. And where does he fit when we have those conversations? Nowhere.
Shout out to y'all keeping it jumping in the comments.
Comments going
stupid in here. We already talked to Krista and Latasha dropping stuff. Navajo, I see you up in here. Low key MJ is up in here. Pure Black is in here acting up.
Black.
So I just want to let you know I see you. We're not gonna we're not gonna mainstream the last comment you dropped, but you were silly. No, I guess one of the things though that I kind of come back to, and then Lee, I'm gonna let you kind of steer the next question in the next part of the conversation, is like, at what point, like, I think there's just such tension in wanting and appreciating leadership and having to humanize people, right? Like, and how you hold people in the same regard once you really either become old enough to understand the truth about them, or they do enough to where things start to be exposed and spill out. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of tension in that, because it's kind of like when you recognize your mom and daddy as like just regular people. You know what I'm saying? It's like that realization when you get older. It's just like, oh, you crazy a little bit. You messed up. You a little shady. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know. I had no idea. Just like the inverse is true. I had to get grown. My mom is a comedian. Like, need a mic, stand up, have her own headlining show, have some people open for it, and she come up and close it out for you. Had no clue until I got to a certain place. And so I feel like, in a lot of the best ways, but also some of the worst ways, sometimes as we become a little less delusional about who we dealing with and what we dealing with, we see the truth for what it is. I guess my question or the tension that I deal with is like, is it healthy to have iconic figures? Right? Because I in the same way that I look at celebrities, like, I really don't have a favorite nothing. People are like, who's your favorite? I think social media killed it for me. I know too much. I've seen too much. You're just a regular person who do a thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I'm trying to piece together what I'm thinking of. I'm kind of putting it together in real time so y'all rock with me. But like, that's why, like, I don't care. You know what I mean? And so when I think about and we learn more about these people, I won't say I don't care about them, about their legacies. Their names have been imprinted on our hearts and souls and in our brains from as Black kids since the beginning of time.
Yeah. But
like, especially as we move forward and look forward, should we even care about people? Like, I don't know the question that I'm trying to ask. It's just like, because again, when we think about revolution, when we think about the next iterations and the trajectory of, Black revolutionizing and, you know, projecting Black futures and what that looks like, answering questions about the intersections that we have and who's going to be a part of these movements to shift things forward. Like, I've always said we don't know because we can't never agree who's going to be in the front. We always going to be, you know, with each other wits in. Can't have a Black man lead the movement. He's not queer enough. He don't have enough. Can't let a Black woman lead it. We don't like Black women. Get that. See Kamala Harris. Can't let the queers lead it because I ain't with all that shit. So I've always said that we were going to be cannibalizing and have those same issues that we see in, for example, the Democratic Party. Yeah. So what I'm getting at is like, what do we do? Because people be humaning. Humans be humaning. And at the same time, humans seem to need important role players and important figures to catalyze and move certain things forward. But how do we handle what seems to be an impasse with knowing too much and being exposed to how people are really fallible and messed up, but needing movers, shakers, groundbreakers, people who are willing to kind of push the envelope and catalyze things forward? But we know as soon as somebody's name gets too big, we're going to go look at your old tweets and put them out there and find some shit about you. And now you're out.
Hey, you're done. You're done.
So I'm done talking, but I'm just trying to speak through the antagonisms that I'm dealing with. You know
but that tension is very real though. We got to deal with that though, because I feel like that's where my response is like, hey, I seen somebody comment, I think it was Dark Divine, and they said, you know, the old folks told me that, you know, you're only as good as your last performance. Yeah. And, you know, I think that is a fair perspective, but I also think as somebody that's been a competitor, that you always feel like, you know what I'm saying, you can go until you can't. You know what I mean? So would I, you know, do something as heinous as, you know, allegedly put somebody's blood on me to say he said something to me? No, I wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? But now that I'm a content creator, I be around a whole bunch of clout chasers that do a whole bunch of immoral, unethical things for attention. You know what I'm saying? And in my mind, now that I understand media more, like hate to say it, you know what I'm saying? Really, a lot of people already do it. It's like, hey, a lot of our thought leaders on social media right now, the way that we are oriented to by the general public, whether you hate us, love us, this, that, and the other, that's the same relationship that our community had to everybody you see in that picture. Mm-hmm. Every one of them people was seen as a voice or a perspective that folks went to for news or for truth or for both. You know what I'm saying? And now it's thinking about, hey, I know people that do shit like Jesse Jackson. I've met them before. You know what I'm saying? They ain't happen. They ain't happen like that. Now you overcompensate for something because you find you get capital from it. I think, you know, in thinking about right now, about how much we talk about how important it is to vote, how much we talk about it's important to support black figures, and how much we talk about, you know, it's important for us to participate. I'm going to read this little two sentences from Chicago.com. After Jesse Jackson left South Carolina, he went to school in Illinois. So when you think about his tie to Illinois and how both of his sons have been senators in Illinois, how he was in Illinois and how he went to Chicago, it's because he was able to set up, you know, that's where he put the college at. But this comes from Chicago. WLSJ says Reverend Jesse Jackson's impact on building a wide tent and getting people to the polls made it possible for black candidates in Chicago and across the country to win races in places other black folks, win races in places other than black districts. Carl Mosley Braun was elected the first black woman to the U.S. Senate in 1992. She credits Jackson's presidential run in the 1980s for giving her the ability to make history. I think that when we think about all the various ways that we can indict all the fucked up shit he did, whether we felt like he was setting up a Democratic plantation to be a Democratic shield, may it be that we feel like he was a part of, you know, Martin Luther King's death, or you feel like what he did after his death wasn't good. I think there are still ways for us to compartmentalize and view how he was able to, you know, impact different folks and different things. And I think that's how I would, you know, chalk up Jesse Jackson's legacy. It's like, was he a piece of work? That's what I think Donald Trump said. He's a piece of work. Like, was he a piece of work? Yes, he was a piece of work. But did he do some shit that helped niggas? Yeah, he did. And to me, I think that, you know, and I would end this rant and what my good sister Toya taught me as a debater. I've won many debates on this. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. Yeah. And being able to walk and chew gum at the same time, it's not only saying that two things can be true at the same time, but it's being able to say you can simultaneously deal with the tension of those two things being true at the same time. That's how I understand that now. Education is elevation. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in to research. I mean, everybody's turned into the Chop Up. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and also go follow us on Substack. Chop Up Show on Substack. We got some newsletters that's gonna be coming out real soon. Shout out to y'all.
And if you ain't tapped into Research Over Research, that's Wednesday mornings. You should definitely be on the Substack, be connected to Consciously, and make sure you catching all of those conversations. Like, it's all valuable stuff. Plug, what you about to say?
Hey, please say it. Say it.
Like you was
Just say it.
Not
Do
because I think the issue that we have is that we and I hate to push back against such a well put together hand-holdy type understanding
this is the chop up show. This is really.
But if we being for real,
here.
that shit is not a wash. That shit is not a wash. Like
No, I'm not saying a wash.
No.
I think
But
it's
I'm saying, but the issue is that it comes off that way, and it's like we gotta look at we have to look at the result, because we can be like, well, Clarence Thomas, it was only the second.
I don't think Clarence Thomas got nothing. I don't think Clarence Thomas got nothing redeemable that he did for niggas at all.
Okay, but
that might be.
This is where I'll say where I push back the getting out the polls and getting, you know what I'm saying, is because now the conversation that we're having, why are we voting? Why are we voting for Democrats so much? Right? If you look at the impact of that's why I say, that's why when you say, oh, well, they on the plantation, but it's like, no, nigga, we on the we dealing with the impact of the plantation right now.
Okay, but
we consistently have every conversation becomes but the Democrats because of niggas like Jesse Jackson. Because while Malcolm was telling niggas that we should have a political maturation, and then I'm gonna let you get it to you, and that's understanding the role that politics play. Jesse and the Democrats was buddy, and he was like, oh, we got a nigga that fuck with King, we got a nigga that speak their language, we got a nigga that's empowering. Right, but the issue that we run into now is, as much as we want to talk about, the fact that niggas was voting, why are we so critical of how niggas voted now? That's something that's something we have to deal with. So even the thing that we're saying that he accomplished the most, getting niggas out the vote today in 2026, niggas is saying niggas set us up for failure. Like, what?
How was he? I guess in the context of this though, we would need to know the state of the Democratic Party, which I'm not aware of, like, for example, in 1984, in the 1980s, that made it logical for him to even make those assertions. Because he can't read the future. How was he supposed to know? Like, I mean, we have a Dr. King, for example, who, right, against like clear proof and demonstrations that the state wasn't shit, that the government and the law was not working in the behest of the people, that even certain revisions and reforms through the Civil Rights Act flirted with change, but really didn't go deep enough. And he was like, I fear I led my people into a burning house, right? He talked about that not only in terms of a lot of the concessions that he's had to make, but the brutalizations that he's experienced. It's like all of that, he was able to be reflexive and say, the proof was in the pudding. And I think I chose the wrong side, led some people into some bullshit. There were signs. There were symptoms. I didn't choose to kind of deal with the malignant disease. And here we are where I'm at a crossroads about what I've endorsed. Then you have potentially a Jesse Jackson situation, right, where I just don't have the political knowledge and background to like just completely be like, he ain't shit for endorsing voting in relationship to the Democratic Party, because who could have predicted this bullshit? But a very defanged, very decelerated, very incapable, very cannibalized, bastardized version of unity and diversity, whatever the fuck that's supposed to look like, and leaning in shawls and shit and doing all types of weird things, right? Very like, but you can't predict those things. So how does that criticism kind of make sense to you? I guess is my question.
I mean, because it wasn't a question of predicting it, because the same Democrats that Jesse Jackson was tight with was the Democrats that more radical leaders were saying these are the niggas that we should stay away from. Because like this, it was the same liberals. Like
that's
it was
true.
Because the one thing that because we've all heard it. Like we have progressed. We're leftists. We've heard progressive talking points. We get grouped with the liberals all the fucking time. And the first thing that niggas say is Dr. King was warning us about the liberals. Malcolm X was warning us about the liberals, and those same liberals is once they got a hold of Jesse Jackson, and he was allowed to be the mouthpiece, was the ones that the policies that we complain about today, the Joe Biden 90 something. I mean, I'm probably being facetious, but you know what I mean. When did he come into power? You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm like, and again, we're talking about the complicated aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like we're dealing with the political mindset, like the criticism that generations now have It's the political mindset that came from, and shout out to Nick Brady, because that's why I always feel like I'm smart when I think some shit and I see Nick write it and I'm like, okay, yeah, like I ain't tripping.
Yeah.
Dr. Nick Brady pointed out that like Jesse Jackson was our Moses into neoliberal the neoliberal Democratic Party. Like that's who led us into that, you know what I'm saying, led us into that world, brought us onto the plantation, as somebody like what's the name would say. And so it's like it's hard for me to be like, but the good things, when it's like, nigga, the political education that I'm trying to advocate for is difficult to teach niggas, because we gotta undo the shit that you ushered into like niggas' political ways of thinking.
Yeah.
Hey, I was trying to get the benefit of the doubt, but listen, the neoliberal critique, he not shaking that. He's not shaking that at all, and he's not shaking in being able to usher black folks into the congregation of the Democratic plantation. And in many instances, like I think that he was able to usher it in, but I would think too that the way that the Barry Goldwater's Southern strategy shit happened, and made it where it was easy for him to pick it up. And I think that is just a part of the, you know, the complicated way that he was able to empower niggas, and just recognizing that neoliberalism be inspiring, neoliberalism be empowering.
Because education is elevation. Contextualize how you're operationalizing neoliberalism in the context of Jesse Jackson. Like, what are the signs and symbols of how you see him as a neoliberal Democrat? How does that kind of materialize? Just so that people can have an operational vocabulary for neoliberalism, as well as be able to spot it through some of the examples that you're pointing through too. So
one with neoliberalism is the idea that we could use like market and capitalist principles as a way to progress society and move society forward. So like there are market solutions to solving or dealing with social issues. And
for example, like prisons, like jails, like education, for example, right? When we allow for those kind of systems to overly intervene in those structures, causes some weird shit to happen.
And so the neoliberal critique of Jesse Jackson is he corporatized activism. It was about your activism needed a corporate sponsor now. It needed an institutional sponsor to be considered valid. And this is coming out of a generation where it was grassroots. You know what I mean? So Jesse Jackson was that transition from our activism being grassroots to now who's behind us, right? Who's willing to pay for us to come speak at wherever. You know what I mean? And so that's where Jesse Jackson get caught up, because he ended up being a part of and a reflection of the black, like Nixon's black capitalism. It's like, nah, like we can start nonprofits. You know what I mean? And when during a time where people didn't have an understanding of a nonprofit industrial complex, the idea of a nonprofit made it to where you can come off as grassroots, knowing that that nonprofit status is just so these corporations can break off bread and say, look, we donating to the Rainbow Push Coalition. Absolutely. We giving to these, you know what I'm saying? We giving bread to these nonprofit.
You got CEOs and COOs being paid $300,000, $400,000 a year, but they teams and committees has never got enough budget money to meet any of the goals and objectives that they set out to meet. People underpaid and overworked. It's hard to have any upper mobility or any ability, because we're just a nonprofit, and this is just kind of how time, like you said, I get to take now that organization's banner or logo and plop it on something, or go and talk to our shareholders about the philanthropy that we do, or this, that, and the other. It all becomes propping and staging for rich people to keep their money cycling in the circles and directions that rich people are already keeping their money cycling and circling.
Because look, before you go, Lee, because my homie Devastating in the chat, my OG, he was when he was talking about it on the stream that we was doing the other day. He was pointing out how Jesse Jackson was at every Mike Tyson fight. Mm-hmm. Jesse Jackson was at Victory Tour, and you know what I'm saying, wherever there was black celebrities, Jesse Jackson was there. You know what I mean? So it's that Jesse Jackson was able to be a celebrity activist. You know what I mean? I don't know if that term was used to describe any activist before Jesse Jackson, but from our understanding, like the first celebrity, that means you mainstream accepted. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not just that the news cover you. Nah, they highlight you. They spotlight you. That wasn't what activism looked like before Jesse Jackson.
I think that's to me that's what his legacy represents in many different instances. The tension between once you start to get used by the institution too much, it automatically makes it where the people that you advocating for automatically start having a distrust. Like, hold on. And then the fact that he kept on always already being around black celebrities and started being like, damn. So is you know what I'm saying? And I think that's the reason why I think a lot of people don't like the activists. You know, so I think that a lot of the content creators that came in when I came in, we are very adamant of being like, I'm not an activist. I know me, I tell you in a minute, I'm an educator. I got a master's degree in education. I built this following. I'm talking about the lessons I did in the classroom. Is there activism in my lessons? Yes. Is there journalism in the lessons? Yes. Am I a journalist? No. Am I activist? No. I'm an educator. Goddamn. I respect the people that put blood, sweat, and tears every day on putting their feet in the street as activists. I recognize I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I respect the people that have been trained, you know what I'm saying, to do journalism and understand how to do. I wasn't trained that way. You know what I mean? I was trained to be in the classroom, and all I've done on social media is take the very lessons that I learned in the classroom and put them on social media. And I think that is always important. But I think that Jesse Jackson is like, yeah, whatever the expectations y'all had for him, I don't want that at all. You see what I'm saying? And shit,
but that's the legacy though. The legacy is when they first started calling niggas race baiters.
Because when they first started calling niggas race hustlers, and Jesse Jackson, to me, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson are I feel like I'm 34. When I became 16, 15, they were the faces of being the grifters, racial hustlers, victims.
I mean, literally, Al Sharpton's post that he made about Jesse Jackson, he was like, that was my big brother in the movement, right? Like, that literally, I think generationally, and I mean, obviously, there's a little age gap or whatever. And so Al Sharpton looks at Jesse Jackson as the prototype, as the framework, as the kind of thing to replicate in terms of how to elevate his particular version of activism. And so I struggle with Al Sharpton too. And I kind of always have. There are tinges of respectability that I've not been able to get with, and I find kind of unsavory and unpalatable. I also think behind every Al Sharpton, you have a Roland Martin. Like, they're just like people who I have some tension with how they start to deal. Like, it's not a complete wash for me, but I'm always just like, and I don't want to overly unk you because I want to be on the same page, but I'm just like, all right, OG, like, you got it. So it really is, it's a complicated position to be in, but there is a lineage, now that y'all are pointing it out and kind of explaining to me, a patchwork of this particular approach to doing the thing. There's a reason why we collectively know these names, as broad as, you know, movement making for Black people has become, as much as culture has started to really influence, you know, the way that we understand, you know, the Lees of the world. Like, there's still certain name brands that come with Black activism. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's certain TMs that you always gonna drop, and it is the Al Sharptons, it is the Jesse Jacksons. So that makes a ton of sense to me.
And we're having to deal with the negative impact of that. Like, the fact that, you know, if you talk about racism, or if you use racism or use conversations about anti-racism to build a platform, it's like, all right, now I gotta look at you. Why you always bringing up race? Why you always bringing up racism? Why you always talking about black? Yeah, I mean, and that mistrust of like the activist title stems from that generation of activism. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's why we got to repeatedly go back to Dr. King and go back to Malcolm X and go back to Huey P. Newton and go back to the damn.
If we're being honest though, when it comes to the Black radical tradition, a lot of the arguments that we have for Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson, they're just more developed criticisms of what the Malcolm X's had for people like Martin Luther King. They also argue that they are sponsored by the government. They're used by the government. They think civil rights is what we want, integration. The government's telling them to push that. We want to have independence. So they were already making these arguments of saying, hey, you're a shield for the Democratic Party. You're trying to bring, you know what I'm saying? That's the reason my King is saying, hey, I fear I've incorporated my people into a burning house. It's because he's already thinking about this stick of being like, I'm iconography activist of the country. Mm-hmm. If we're being real, Dr. King is really that first one. And actually, that's a lot. If we're being real, I would argue that W.E.B. Du Bois, you know what I'm saying? It starts to become the archetype of that. And I think this leads us into this, to the other part of this, back out of this conversation. I got time today, really. You know what I'm saying? Are y'all tired? Y'all want to save these three figures for when we get home, for when we together on Friday, or do we want to get into this right now? Let's do it right now.
I say get into it now, yeah.
Okay.
Who's gonna go first?
I guess, and real quick,
I want to tell the people real fast, so they're just watching it right now.
Yeah,
I think it's important. And the back half of the title of this is Complicated Black History Makers. What we're talking about in terms of Jesse Jackson is not just unique to Jesse Jackson. There are a bunch of Black leaders that have complicated past, maybe not as checkered or not as grotesque as Jesse's, but there are some that's like, damn, you know, and I think that we're going to bring up these names and give some claims and warrants to why we think they have a complex history. And I think the question we should be all asking ourselves is, why don't we talk about these things? And how do we hold these ugly truths in a celebration of the 100th year of celebrating Black History Month? This is the 100th year celebration. How do we deal with the complexities of these? Who want to go first?
Fuck it, I go first.
And one more disclaimer. Listen, y'all. I know that part of these episodes would be clipped probably, and I will find these clips on all the social media platforms. We are being purposely provocative. You're going to feel uncomfortable. When all three of us speak the next time you hear us, you're going to hear something that's going to make you clutch your pearls. Clutch. Learn.
No, mine is kind of my first.
No, I disagree. I know you nigga. You're lying. just go.
Let unpack it.
All right, Obama, Barack Obama.
I ain't going there and start with the first Black president. Come on.
but I mean, I think picking on Obama is low hanging fruit these days. If I'm being honest. Like, so I feel like maybe 10 years ago, maybe when I used to tell niggas that I thought Obama was the Antichrist back in like 2009, 2010, maybe like niggas would feel away then. But nowadays, it's like nowadays more people have caught on to that. So it's and I'm actually, and that's why I pick Obama, because I'm actually more understanding of Obama, why people lost patience with that nigga. I didn't have no patience with the nigga to begin with. You know what I'm saying? I was not I remember being me and Rashid would be in our Black political science class, and our professor, shout out to Bivens, man. He had us reading this book on like niggas like Cory Booker and Obama, just like as the new representation of what Black politics look like. And me and this nigga she would be in class like, fuck no, that's what like that's if that's the new standard, we are in fucking trouble. And it took niggas about 10 years and 2 Trump presidencies, well, like a Trump presidency and a Biden presidency, to be like, oh, well, we don't fuck with Obama. You know what I mean? While I'm sitting back like, it meant something though. You know what I'm saying? Like at the time, for me, the complicated nature was you gotta be connected to some type of evil shit for the United States of America to put your Black ass in the highest seat of the land.
Yeah.
Just as I was coming into my political, you know what I'm saying, maturation, it was like now that I understand how this shit rock, like I understand this shit now. How you getting here? Nigga, that's trouble. That's trouble. Now niggas is like, Obama didn't do nothing for niggas, and I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. But it meant something culturally. Like that's the one time I say, like, not like when niggas be like, oh, you vote for somebody because they Black. I think that was the only time where I really heard anybody be like, I'll do anything just because they Black. I'm gonna get my ass out there just because.
Oh, yes, what a time to be alive! Oh, what a time to be alive! And
it's like, looking back on that, you can't say you've seen that anywhere else at any other point in history. So, you know, right, drone strike nigga, you know what I'm saying, neoliberal than a motherfucker, empty ass Nobel Peace Prize, deporter in chief, like, you know what I mean? But his economic plan got niggas out of one of the worst economic collapses. You know, Donald Trump benefited from, like, his shit was so good. Trump benefited when he got in office. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's my first one. Oh, I'm doing all 3.
We're doing.
I like that one. I think we should keep on going. I think we should popcorn until we done. You want to go first in the next story, or me go next?
You can go next, because I want to make sure I collect the proper thing that I want to cite as I talk about this
next group. I'll go next. The first person I'll bring up is our beloved, talented 10th brother, Uncle W.E.B. Du Bois. He's been able to accomplish and contribute a lot to the world, I will argue that W.E.B. Du Bois is definitely one of the best intellects that this country has produced, especially when it comes to like scholarship. But W.E. Du Bois was a colorist. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the brown paper bag shit we talk about, a lot of the light skin, dark skin thing we think about, especially when we start to correlate that towards leadership, a lot of ways that we understand that is based off of the colorist anti-black politics of W.E. Du Bois. And I think that there's a lot of times we're not able to hold in the ugliness of some of his politics, especially when he was prevalent, and how that led to a bunch of bad beliefs and a bunch of bad legacies for dark-skinned people, for fat people, for people down south. You know what I'm saying? He had a real classist concept of the talented 10th that allowed for him to come down south and believe that he was going to free us Negroes down south because he was a nigga from up north that he just knew more than us. You know what I'm saying? Or the fact is, as a father, and you know what I'm saying, shout out to Deontay Kyle. I had the conversation with him. He pointed out, like, bro, if you really, he was being funny about it, he was being real. You know, Deontay, you know, that's his personality, but he was like, shit, really?
No, we don't know that nigga. You know that nigga. We don't know that nigga.
But I feel like people that watch his shit, you know, I feel like people that watch his shit, you know, he's a joker. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, Deontay was like, are they really a good black leader if they were a good dad? And what he pointed at is that a lot of our black leaders were not typically good dads. W.E. Du Bois, he
So use your words.
W.E. Du Bois convinced his daughter, Yolande, to marry County Cullen because he wanted County Cullen to be his protege. County Cullen was a closeted gay man, you feel me, that ended up having a shitty relationship with Yolande, W.E. Du Bois's, you know what I'm saying, daughter, all because he was trying to, you know, be the new Negro. You know what I mean? This is a part of his legacy. You know what I'm saying? Also, when you think about the UNIA versus the NAACP, or the way that the FBI went after Marcus Garvey, or the way that, you know what I'm saying, he went after other people, like W.E. Du Bois really used his proximity to whiteness, both in skin tone and skin color and in ideology, to really weaponize it against niggas. Not only Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey, but like we can keep on going down that line thinking like, damn, bro, you did some fucked up shit, man. The last thing I say about W.E. Du Bois when it comes to the complexity of this, I want to be clear. I'm not disavowing the legacy of W.E. Du Bois. I understand, me as a self-proclaimed intellectual, I know that I would not be able to visualize and picture myself in this position if it wasn't for classist niggas and colorist niggas like W.E. Du Bois. But right. I will say, even when I first learned about the beef between, or the conflict or the disagreement they had with Booker T. Washington and W.E. Du Bois, though I agreed more in terms of ideology with W.E. Du Bois, I always felt the tension in perspective and social location and kind of what they were arguing about in terms of, hold on, so we got to prove that we got to have it. You think we got to just do it? Okay. That's that spiel. You up next, Toya.
I'm up next. And I've been trying to find like the perfect little statement to couch this criticism, because one of the most beloved groups and organizations toward Black liberation that we hold close to us is the Black Panther Party. And there's even no secret that, you know, BPP, there were Black Panthers. Shout out to people like Assata Shakur, right? People like Kathleen Cleaver, right? So many different people who really were a part of the movement, essential to it. But when it's all said and done, the Black Panther Party was not necessarily always a friendly place for Black women, down to their chauvinistic perspectives, and really kind of making sure that even though they preached equity and even like implied at the beginnings and the origins of the organization that they were fighting for equity, very muchly against things like the Black womenist movement, very muchly not in line with and coordinating with things like the Combahee River Collective, very muchly degrading just kind of the value, the role, the important and essentialization of Black women in everything from how they stayed safe, how they were able to, you know, accomplish a lot of the movement making and the growth that they were experiencing in places like Oakland and beyond, and really just kind of sweeping under the table. But that is not the apex of it, because I'll read here, sexist attitudes and formulations amongst party members were evidenced, perhaps most starkly in the case of Eldridge Cleaver, one of the leaders of the Black Panther Party, who joined the party and became the Minister of Information in 1967. Cleaver, a convicted rapist, wrote in his influential book, Soul on Ice, that he considered the rape of white women, and sorry if that's triggering for anybody here, my use of that language, to be a revolutionary act, and that he, air quote, practiced on Black women to start. While this book was written before he entered the party, he never officially repudiated, which means he never denied never fought against, never attempted to fix his image in relationship to those accusations, right? And so let's see. A lot of other examples I can kind of get into in terms of just the misogyny and a lot of the violence and, you know, just very uncomfortable states and places that we have there. So when we evoke the name of the Black Panther Party, when we talk about how, you know, we should revitalize them, when we talk about the new Black Panther Party, right? These are the types of questions that we have to start asking ourselves in terms of what organizations and organized structures do and how we do need to be kind of critical of some of the leaders that we have, which is why I say it's hard to pick a leadership group, because there will always be something behind that curtain. There will always be something, you know, at the heart of how people are moving that could be questionable or damn near violent to the people who are trying to align. So the Black Panther Party, put an asterisk by it. We got some stuff to figure out with them. Who's next?
All right, number 2 for me is a name I mentioned earlier, and I will always mention this nigga name because he is historically coonish, and that is Clarence Thomas. We should not erase Clarence Thomas from Black history.
All right.
We should immortalize Clarence Thomas in Black history as one of the most counterproductive, shit-eating sellouts in the history of Black lawyers. There's only been 3 people to occupy the position of Supreme Court Justice.
Yeah.
Which you could argue is literally, we talk about the presidency, but the Supreme Court is to me, arguably, is the most important branch of government. Why?
I agree.
Because judicial review, they get the last fucking say.
Mm-hmm.
Not the president, not Congress. These 8-9 justices get a final fucking say on what the Constitution means. And what they say is law. And Clarence Thomas, bitch ass, rose through the ranks of a racist legal system at a time where the unspoken efforts to keep Black people out of positions of power was prominent. This coon ass nigga reaches the apex of the law.
It me every time. Yes.
Because him getting there, the only other nigga is Thurgood Marshall, and that's Black law Jesus. Like Thurgood Marshall does know, like that's literally he's in the pinnacle, like the Hall of Fame of Black history makers. Thurgood Marshall is one of them, and the very next nigga to come after him is this sellout ass motherfucker.
It's terrible.
But it's real name Clarence. Clarence
It should hurt all of us. He is the poster boy for you can't trust Black faces in high spaces.
Yeah.
He is the poster boy for not all skin folk is kinfolk.
Not all of them. Be careful.
He is history. Because
It
it takes a lot of this up here, a lot of everything for to look like us and to bring a Supreme Court justice.
I know we taking turns too, but I just want to remind people what he did at Anita Hill. That man took his pubic hair and put it on that lady's soda and walked away. That's all.
And then claimed he was being lynched when he got called out about it. Just for him to get up on this position and say that you niggas better not never claim you a racial victim of anything. I don't give a damn if it's a real lynch, a metaphorical lynch, an analytical lynch. You better never say you got lynched. And this man, to escape responsibility of sexually assaulting a Black woman. Anita Hill was a professor at OU too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lee.
My turn.
Yeah, Lee. Yeah,
I'm gonna go a little bit international with this one. It kind of fucked me up. Patrice Lumumba is a figure in not only a Pan-Africanist, but also being an anti-colonist, you know what I'm saying, being the first elected leader of Congo. He was so powerful, some argued that he was only in office from June to September. You know, they murdered him within 3 months of him being in office. The before I get to the part that's crazy, I want to make sure people that don't know who he is one of the people that the Western empires all together started collectively viewing as a threat to France, to England, to America, to the Belgium, and they all came into cahoots to make sure they were able to eliminate him. When we start talking about what's happening in Congo, from the cobalt to the coltan to all of those natural resources, that goes all the way back to Patrice Lumumba's time. And the reason why that's happening is because he was trying to unify and the nation, nationalize those resources and make it where the Congolese people are the first to benefit from those resources instead of Tesla, instead of Apple, instead of Microsoft. The thing though that fucked me up about Patrice, the thing that made it where I had to like do I still view you the same, because I don't know how I can reconcile this at all. Patrice Lumumba was 26 years old, and his third wife,
my lord,
his third wife was 14. Now I know that some people might bring up, culture, times.
Yeah, and they in different areas. They culture do shit differently.
Hey, yeah. I understand all that. I understand all that. It still don't negate that Pauline Opongo, that's the woman's name. You feel me? That was her name when she was a child. But she was married him when she was married when she was 14 years old, and they had 4 children together. When I think about, leaders, think about oppression, and think about power and domination and anti-colonialism and all this, it fucks me up, because pedophilia is pedophilia. Right now we're talking about the Epstein files and this, that, and the other. And the reason why we view that as being obscure is because we recognize it was wrong, and that the ideas of consent is very blurred when it comes to talking about, not even blurred, the lines of consent is dead when we start talking about a child and an adult. So me thinking about this Pan-African icon that is one of the faces of Pan-Africanism, that is one of the faces of, African unity, one of the faces of anti-colonialism, was married to a 14-year-old. It really, make me sit there and think about, like, man, so much shit, like shit is being real, And I know that many people will be upset that I'm bringing this up, but I think the point of this segment is for us to grapple with the ugly history of a lot of people that we've been brought up to revere.
I guess
I know, crazy.
I'm trying to figure out which direction I want to go in. Skip me for a second. Come back to me for a second. I want to make my final contribution to the conversation, one that is of value. Keep going.
I don't know how people gonna feel about this one.
Ooh, I'm scared already. You said it like that.
And my ears.
Complicated Black history. Gotta go with Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Okay. Reasonable.
I mean, because one, Nation of Islam don't get you, like, when we talk Black history icons and like Black history legacy, you're not going to see the Nation of Islam on a poster. McDonald's isn't going to do a spotlight on them. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to see Farrakhan and the Nation be celebrated in the general Black history conversation.
Mm-hmm.
However, the type of organization that the Nation of Islam and the type of discipline and the type of just overall infrastructure that they was able to build, it showcases something, the organization being able to last as long as it had, then, be as prominent as it is, and have relationships with motherfuckers overseas. Remember, they tried to give what's the name? What was his name? Gaddafi was trying to give him what, like $1 billion type shit. Like, Gaddafi was trying to give them major bread. But outside of serving the nation, though, the impact on Black people writ large, it has been, to say the least, insufficient. To be able to influence, to create that type of influence and create that type of infrastructure and discipline, and not have that branch out into like into secular Black people and impact the lives of secular Black people. I mean, not to say that the Nation of Islam hasn't like done things for communities, right, or had efforts that benefited you know what I mean, where certain people lived, or that, you know, just regular black people didn't benefit from it. But we see the control, like for example, that evangelical Christianity and the way that they organize politically, and the influence that they able to and the influence they able to have due to whiteness, of course, but how involved it is with like really like mainstream American politics. And we don't see the nation of Islam. Like, I mean, if anything, we see the Nation of Islam going into a even more counterproductive direction with them being Scientologists. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't heard that. That's no news to me.
Yes, the nation is tight with Scientologists.
And we got somebody who even in the comments, and I'm finally getting back to being able to look over here. Nation of Islam was a good thing for self-determination and sovereignty, but it was a cult. Like people, you know, even from the inside are able. And there's a lot of, I think, who else is in here? I think there is a person.
Low-key MJ said they went after Malcolm.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, and that is also a commonly held belief and is perceived to be factual. There was even, what is the show? It's a newer-ish show with Forrest Whitaker. He's playing the role of Bumpy Johnson. It's on
The Godfather of Harlem.
Yeah, and they even kind of explore some interesting components of how, you know, his assassination played out and the antagonisms and criticisms. A lot of them was coming from the NOI now. Yeah. Like even in recounting his story, right? The narrative of it was from his perspective, seeing some of the tension and some of the bumper issues there. So, you know, very crazy. And so Hunter Biden's laptops has consistently been in the comments talking about the institution of the church or institutional organizations in general and their cultish like behaviors. I think this is a great example, right? And I don't want to like heavy-handedly accuse NOI or Islam of being a cult. I'm not saying that, but there are questionable practices in the same ways we can look at, you know, Christianity and look at a whole bunch of other things that just make you wonder if these are system structures, frameworks of social control and power, what the gateways and portals in and out of these particular communities and groups look like, and what happens, you know, in terms of being miscommunicated. And this, whenever you telling me like, if you go, fuck you don't exist no more, that's when I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's a little hard line. But
I know when it comes to Louis Farrakhan, when I see him talk about, when I see his speeches about after Malcolm got assassinated, and he's not taking credit, but taking credit for the assassination and being like, don't worry about how NOI deal with our traitors. And he's popping that shit. You see what I'm talking about? He was popping it. We all seen the video, he was popping it. It didn't sit right in my stomach, and to this day, it don't sit right in my stomach, that after he did all that, he sat there in front of Malcolm X's daughter and looked her in her eyes and said he ain't had nothing to do with nothing. Even if he was just hooting and hollering and trying to get some clap for it, the way we view Jesse Jackson as being, hey, bro, why you said all that if you didn't do all that? Even though I know I got a lot of respect and posted in that Nation of Islam. But for me personally, I still, that never sat right with me. When I viewed that, when I seen him have a whole sit down with Malcolm X's daughter and be like, yeah, I ain't do this, and he's softened. To me, it's like, bro, I ain't got time for this.
Hey, and I want no smoke with the NOI. I want no smoke.
Oh, y'all won it all. I want to say this on the record. NOI, y'all already won. I'm whatever y'all say I am, y'all got it. Right now, we're just having a conversation, being critical about the checkered history and complex history. And I think that Nation of Islam, it fit in there. We being real, we being intellectual.
Yeah, because
I'm moral. We gotta deal with this. We gotta deal with the complexity history of our organizations.
Because I'm pointing out that y'all deserve more, you know, like in terms of Black history. You know what I mean? Like y'all deserve to be a part of the, you know what I mean? But it's complicated though.
It's complicated, goddamn. It's definitely complicated. It's definitely complicated for sure. Toya, you ready?
I am, and this will be, my contribution in the name of equity, right? Because Black women are important, crucial, necessary to the movement, but they are not always flawless characters. I think a case in point, and especially in the spirit of Black History Month, one of the first people we point to, or that we expect young people to know about, is the beloved Oprah Winfrey. Now, Oprah Winfrey, coming from humble, beginnings, and pushing her way to be the, media darling, the queen of Chicago, doing a whole lot of things for Harpo Industries, getting in the film, getting in the media. People was begging for her to be the president for a long ass time. Like, it's always been, the first billionaire Black woman, one of the only billionaire women in the world, right? Like, whole situation. But a lot of people have had a legacy kind of issue with who she is. We'll start at the bottom of a list of 11 things and just work our way up. First, she is claimed to be a very, controlling individual, having, somebody who, in her own right, because of who she is, her level of celebrity, being protective of herself and of her space, but from some people's perspective, to a flaw in ways that are very off-putting, very disrespectful, very unbecoming for somebody who has sold themselves as being such a heart, such a connector of persons and people, just really like not who she purports herself to be in social spaces. This includes the mistreatment of staff, firing people for unclear reasons, creating hostile work environments, dismissing people, and even being patronizing and condescending to folks, which is what rich people do, right? You wasting my time. Every dollar is worth a certain amount of dollars, and every minute is worth a certain amount of dollars and cents, so we get some of that. But it continues. The promotion of pseudoscience. A lot of people have been critical of Oprah for a long time because she is who opened up the gateways to people like Dr. Oz, who have medical opinions that are not nearly sound. And when we talk about Dr. Mehmet Oz, we're talking about a trusted companion in the Trump party with the Trump presidency, works directly with people like Robert F. Kennedy, what's his name?
Robert F. Kennedy,
the person over health and human services. What is his official title? He's the health person in the United States. My words escape me now, but he is the person who's supposed to be keeping us healthy and shit. So the Dr. Oz of the world, and then you have Dr. Phil, who is no doctor.
Phil, yeah.
Whose credentials have already been undermined, but you still have people coming on their shows, bearing everything from their health information to their personal lives, to the drama and traumas and things that they living through
Which
when they
brought us Cash Me Outside, girl.
You feel me? Yeah. I don't even remember the
damn
Oprah.
Bad Barbie.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So the gateway to a whole bunch of fraudulent people who are having takes and conversations about things that they should not be having, the ability to weigh in on. Then you have the legacy, and this is where, as a woman in a fat body, as a fat Black woman, as somebody who was projected to this, like there's some sympathy I have here in this particular pocket, but also something that we consider. She has always had a history of fluctuating weight and weight loss, but that's also come with gimmicks from some people's perspectives. Get skinny quick strategies. Most recently, she's been criticized, and this is a debate and a conversation to be had another time or even another space, because maybe not here. Here might not be the place for it, but to talk about the use of GLP-1s and different weight loss drugs, and how she kind of was the penchant of popularizing those things. If I really am to give somebody credit on mainstreaming what I feel like is the sometimes, or from some perspectives, I won't say I feel, but from some perspectives are the overuse, the abuse, the manipulation of some of these weight loss drugs. She was somebody who ushered it in and talked about this new interesting way. You know what I'm saying? Like lose weight. And so she represented a whole era, for at least, especially for Black women, of what it felt like to want to be desirable and want to be cool and have gifts and talents and skills, but for those things to be overlooked for what your body looked like, and to have different strategies and methods and brands and products, consumerism, right, to take care of those things. So the weight loss hypocrisy has always been a thing. Then we can't forget about the Maui wildfires. If y'all recall, Oprah was linking up with people like The Rock and making videos and stuff like that, trying to raise money for Maui, but it just was very tone deaf and very disconnected, because baby, you balling out, you go up. Why you not doing some of those things? And then maybe you are, but the messaging of it and the tone of it was like, y'all see what's going on? My name is Oprah. I just want to show y'all some stuff, bad stuff is happening. Jump in there, instead of saying, I'm taking the lead. These are things that I'm doing. These are, the opportunities that I'm taking the lead on for you to jump behind us and support some important things. So kind of took a dig. In that same breath, we can't forget about that school that she was supposed to be building, or that she built in Africa, right? But it was not, with some baggage about that particular school. The Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy was one of her achievements to lift up African girls through education, giving them tools for a better future. However, a lot of people were critical of how you weren't building and giving things to little Black girls right here in the United States who needed to be uplifted and edified. There was, I think, some chatter, maybe it could have been rumors about her kind of having this perspective that American Blacks were unappreciative, that we're not, in a space to really take advantage of the tools and things that they've been given. So it was this kind of narrative that she was taking her resources where she really felt like people would appreciate them and use them, which is ironic because while the Academy, it says, has undeniably helped many, some critics aren't convinced it's enough. The deeper issues like poverty and healthcare still loom in the areas where the school has been built. And a lot of people say not much has changed, even though there was a lot of fanfare around her building that. Here's the last thing I want to leave you all with in terms of our criticisms of Oprah Winfrey. There's an elephant in the room, right? Because you can say her body, her business. If she want to talk about weight loss, it's 1,000 people get on the internet every day, turn the camera on and tell you how they lost weight. NBD. You might even say, she can do what she want with her money in her school. And when it comes to Maui and this, that, and whatever, you should be happy she made a video and acknowledging shit. But here's what you can't shake. She has been connected to and cannot be de-linked from conversations about people like Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Russell Simmons, and P. Diddy. She has been in wrong places at wrong times, linked with a lot of the wrong people, and we have some way been able to overlook and not see and look away from and never really sit with why the hell Oprah name is on different logs and different, in different pictures and in different places and spaces and building different relationships and having like
all them motherfuckers.
What you doing? What you doing? And so I think when it comes to thinking about shaky legacies and ones that maybe, again, we need to peek behind the curtain, look up under the rug a little bit, Oprah's name definitely makes the list. And that's my take. We've been on for 125. I mean, I think in the next 5, we can go ahead and bring it full circle.
For sure. I ain't gonna be long with this one right here because I think that I hope that it drops a seed and it makes people pissed off enough for us to start having some conversations about sexual assault, sexual violence. You know what I'm saying? This one right here hurt my heart. You feel me? I grew up on this man. He said a statement one time I watched the documentary. He said that I don't promise to change the world, but I promise to plant the seed that will go change the world. You know what I'm saying? He had a song, you know what I mean? Shit, keep your head up. He is seen as one of the faces of hip hop. Arguably, some people view him as the greatest rapper to ever live, Tupac Shakur. He has a great way of talking about women. I think that a lot of my advocacy for women, I think, was inspired a lot of ways by Tupac being so unapologetic when it comes to standing up for women. And not just his mother, you know what I'm saying, but just thinking about the plight of Black women in its totality. Now that I'm older, and I've been able to go back and hear what Tupac said happened for when he got charged with sexual assault, hear from what the victim said happened about sexual assault, and it's just like, man, what I recognize is that he was young, he was in his 20s, but what he said about why he didn't go help the girl and why he let his kind of entourage kind of, handle it, because he didn't want to come off as lame and it wasn't his girl. He didn't want them to think that it was his girl. So when you start to get into the nuts and crannies of it, you start to see how slut shaming operates and how the lure of being able to be around a man that's larger than life, how some women might do some things they might not do with other men, and how the idea ain't no fun unless we all get some, or because she going live and sucking dick over there, she gonna suck some dick over here too. So when I got into the details of what happened specifically in New York hotel, what happened on the dance floor, why it's being justified that she was a jump off hole because she sucked this thing on the dance floor, and that means that she was, I got into the ugly idea of consent and how if a woman go live and she being a hoe on Monday, can she say you can't have no coochie on Wednesday? Or do you hold against her going live? And you see what I'm saying? It was a whole
answer is yes.
And this is last thing I say about this. I watched a few women talk about how much it fucked them up because they seen Tupac as being the person that always stood up for Black women uniquely, and how when she talked about his words, not what the victim said, but what he's talking about, his words, even playing it down. I didn't rape her. I went to jail for forcing me to put my hand on her buttocks. That's still sexual assault, and you saying you did that. You see what I'm saying? So it's still getting into the ugly history, specifically when it comes to our beloved Tupac Amaru Shakur. You feel me? And I'm saying our beloved because I still, you feel me? I still I still view him the way I, you know what I'm saying? But it's like I view him in light of also this. In my mind, there's no way for me to talk about sexual assault, sexual violence, women's progression, and not think about how somebody that I looked up to for most of my life is also implicated in that same type of, you feel me, thing. You know what I mean?
Shit that he be calling out.
Shit he be calling out. And this is say too, again, I don't think none of us is disavowing nobody except for Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas is about totality. Shout out to him for being a nigga that's taking, you know what I'm saying? I agree with Damo. Shout out to him for being Supreme Court, but disavowed. You feel what I'm saying? Disavowed. Tupac, though, it's like, hey, you feel me? Right now, the Epstein files is out. Now, I'm not saying that he did nothing to no kids, but a part of the Epstein files is about sexual assault and sexual violence towards women. You feel me? Towards women. I watched the documentary of it being about women. So I'm still thinking about it in the conversation right now about what does it mean to hold the general welfare of women always in the center, and thinking about how some of our most beloved men have been implicated, you feel me, in assaulting or violating women.
Yeah.
So Crashing Phantom was like, also did they tap into the complicated history of James Baldwin? Prince Shakur did a fantastic video about it and it blew my mind. And so I'm only acknowledging it because Crashing came in and was like, what they talk about. So that's a very apt observation. We were going through before the show a list of people we was gonna touch on, talk about who could we really speak, you know, with a solid level of detail and context about it. And James Baldwin is on that list. So definitely, you know, a person, a perspective, an idealist, a visionary who, you know, got some issues. I think I can't remember who he was talking to.
We might got to run this part of this back on Friday, y'all, because it's more to it. We can
circle back and add some more depth to it. I think what Maya says, though, as we start to bring the conversation to a close, is Maya says, I think you'll never find a perfect hero. We all live in shades of gray. We can learn from the mistakes of others just as much as we can learn. And I'm adding this part, just as much as we can learn from their legacy and all the cool things they learn. I'm gonna keep it a rack with you. There's a lot of people who appreciate, show love, have space, have tender space for one Toya Green. And I love that for myself. I love that for you. I'd be so grateful when people are just like, Toya G, like whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in terms of my HD stuff, but I'm always very like, I'm just always like, but I'm crazy a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't got it all. And if you know what I'm saying, like, just like everybody, if you unearth some things, if you sit around for a little while, like, you're just so powerful with your words, the way you speak is so, and I be cussing a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, not that that's necessarily bad, but just to show.
Stop cussing, man.
Look, I'm less
I cuss a lot
guy.
because I've invested a lot in developing a diverse lexicon and the ability to grapple with language in nuance and meaningful ways. So I'm keeping my cuss words and I'm gonna develop my vocabulary as well too. So that's a very lightweight example of just how, you know, we are multifaceted, very complex people who are more than what meets the eye, and that's for better or for worse. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, looking at our favorite leaders, our icons, our beacons of light, the people who have showed us the play, the people who have laid it out for us to kind of replicate and do, and not just celebrities, you know what I'm saying? But these people who have changed the cultural and social landscape of everything. The plug, you're wild. However, what I will say is we say the same thing, interestingly enough, with artists, which is that we got to separate the art from the artist. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of time we got to separate the liberational tactics, the voting, you know, the push toward the ballot box, the aspirations of self-identity and self-determination. We got to separate that from the person sometime. You know what I'm saying? We got to be willing to give a little bit, to take a little bit. Negotiation. I hardly enjoy shit because I'm like, oh, this person had a new movie, they're a terrible person. New song, you do some shady shit. New things, you linked up with the wrong people. Like, it's just a combination of me constantly having to utilize what we know to be cognitive dissonance, right? Which is having a pattern of beliefs, ideals, understanding, morals, ethics, and then at times finding ourselves deviating and going the opposite way. So I don't know. That's my take on the conversation. I won't say that it's the last word, but I will say I think we had a great time starting with Jesse Jackson and then really starting to piece together how we understand our heroes, our game changers, our legacy makers, which is important work to do for this 100th Black History Month this year.
Yeah.
Anything else from the people before we out?
Nah, that's it, man. We will see y'all Friday.
Yeah.
See y'all Friday. Yeah, we'll see y'all Friday. We all be together too, man. So y'all pull up on us.
Yeah. We're gonna have
One
the
extra
in
day.
studio session chop up. Leah be out here in Southern California for the NAACP Image Awards. So we're gonna have an opportunity to link up, and it's always a great time when we link up. But with that being said, man, it's the chop up. We out.
Make sure y'all say bye. Good night.
We out. Goodbye.